Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive today.
Hey.
We're going to be breaking down Amazon EC2 for you.
Awesome.
So think of this as your crash course on virtual servers in the AWS cloud.
Perfect.
Whether you're, prepping for a big meeting or just feeding that curiosity of yours.
Absolutely.
We'll cover a ton of ground today, so let's jump right in.
Okay.
So when we say EC2 instance, what are we actually talking about?
It might sound complicated, but an EC2 instance is really just a virtual server.
Okay.
That you can rent and fully control online.
Gotcha.
Without having to deal with the physical hardware.
So I could have like a Windows server
Exactly.
up and running in the cloud.
Exactly. And the control you have is pretty remarkable. You can start it, stop it.
Wow.
You can customize it with updates. You can install whatever applications you need. It's like building your own server in the cloud.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
But what about these Amazon machine images, or AMIs?
Right.
They sound pretty important to the whole EC2 setup.
Absolutely. They're essentially blueprints for your instances. So think of them as pre-configured packages that include the operating system.
Okay.
Any software you might need, it's ready to go.
That sounds much easier than starting from scratch.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I'm guessing there are different types of AMIs.
You got it. The main types you'll encounter are EBS-backed and instance store-backed.
Okay.
And the key difference is how they handle storage.
Gotcha.
So with EBS-backed, your data is stored on separate volumes that persist even if your instance is stopped. So think of it like saving your work on a hard drive.
Okay.
But with instance store-backed, the storage is temporary. It's gone if you stop or terminate the instance.
So if it's important data, I should stick with EBS backed.
Yeah, it's generally the safer bet for critical data.
Okay.
Or applications.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard about creating your own AMIs.
Right.
Why would you want to do that?
Well, think of it like creating a master copy of your perfectly configured server that you can then use to launch identical instances whenever you need.
So you don't have to set it up every time.
Yeah, it saves you the hassle of setting everything up from scratch each time.
That's pretty clever.
Yeah, it's a great time saver, especially if you need to deploy multiple instances with the same configuration.
So it's like having a blueprint for your perfect server setup.
Exactly. And you can even share these blueprints with others.
Oh, wow.
That's where shared AMIs come in. They're AMIs made available by Amazon partners or even other users. It's a great way to leverage pre-built configurations and save yourself time and effort.
Okay, so we've got our AMI selected.
Right.
But how do we actually get this virtual server up and running? What are the steps involved in launching an EC2 instance?
It's actually surprisingly straightforward. You choose your AMI.
Okay.
You choose an instance type that matches your computing power needs.
Okay.
And then you configure the security settings.
So security settings, that sounds important. What do those involve?
You set up security groups, which act like firewalls for your instances. They control what traffic can come in and out, making sure your server is protected.
So like a virtual bouncer for my server.
Exactly, only letting the right traffic in.
I like that.
And once your instance is launched, you need a way to connect to it, right?
Right. How do we do that?
That depends on your operating system.
Yeah.
So for Linux, you typically use SSH, which is a secure way to access the command line.
No.
For Windows, you'd use RDP, which lets you access the graphical interface remotely.
Oh, cool.
Almost like you're sitting right in front of the server.
So with RDP, I'd see the familiar Windows desktop, even though the server's in the cloud.
Exactly. You just download a small file from the AWS console, you open it, and voila, you're connected to your Windows instance, just like it was a physical computer on your desk.
That's incredibly convenient. Now, before we go any further, are there any other essential EC2 concepts we should understand?
Definitely one of the key concepts is availability zones.
Okay.
They're physically separate data centers within a region.
Okay.
So by spreading your applications across multiple availability zones, you build redundancy and resilience into your system.
So if one zone goes down, my application can keep running in another.
Exactly like having a backup generator for your house.
I like that.
And to take it a step further, you can use elastic IP addresses, which give your instances a fixed public IP address.
Why is a fixed IP address important?
Well, it's crucial for applications that need a consistent address that doesn't change like a web server or a database. It ensures that even if an instance restarts or moves to a different availability zone, it keeps the same public IP address so everything stays connected.
Okay. Starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
Yeah.
But how do you keep track of all these instances and their configurations? It sounds like it could get overwhelming quickly.
That's where instance metadata, comes in handy.
Okay.
It's basically a set of data about your running instance that you can access programmatically.
Gotcha.
It includes things like the instance ID, the security groups, and more.
Okay.
So it's like a built-in information card for your instance.
So if I need to know something about a running instance, I can just query its metadata.
Exactly. It's a valuable tool for managing and automating your EC2 environment.
This has been a great overview of EC2 basics.
Yeah, it's
starting to feel a lot less intimidating than I thought it would be.
a lot to take in, but once you get the hang of it, it's really powerful.
Absolutely. What stands out to you as the most important takeaway so far?
I think for me, it's the sheer flexibility that EC2 offers.
Okay.
You have so much control over how your virtual servers are set up, from the operating system to the hardware specs to the networking configuration. You can truly tailor the environment to perfectly match your application's needs.
I agree. The level of customization is impressive.
Yeah.
But that also makes me think about cost. All this flexibility and power must come at a price. So let's shift gears a bit and talk about how to make sure we're using EC2 efficiently and keeping those costs under control.
You're right. Cost is a big consideration. Fortunately, AWS offers several ways to optimize your spending, and we'll dive into that next.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back. So now that we've got a handle on those EC2 basics, let's dive into some of those cost optimization strategies.
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting for your budget.
Yeah, definitely.
You've got options like spot instances, reserved instances, savings plans, all designed to help you save money.
Okay, let's break those down, starting with spot instances.
Right.
They sound intriguing, and I hear they can save you a lot of money.
Imagine being able to rent those unused EC2 instances at a huge discount.
Wow.
Sometimes up to 90% off the regular price. That's what spot instances offer.
90% off. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a great deal.
What's the catch? It sounds too good to be true.
Well, the trade-off is that these instances can be interrupted with a 2-minute notice.
Oh, okay.
If Amazon needs that capacity back.
So it's a bit of a gamble then.
Yeah, think of it like a standby ticket for a flight.
Okay.
You get a great deal, but you might have to give up your seat if someone with a confirmed ticket needs it.
So what types of applications are a good fit for spot instances then?
They're perfect for flexible workloads that can handle interruptions. Things like batch processing jobs, test environments, or fault-tolerant web applications. Basically anything that can be paused or restarted without major consequences.
So it's all about finding that right balance between cost savings and risk tolerance.
Exactly. You got it.
What if you need those instances running reliably for extended periods?
Right. Well, that's where reserved instances come in.
Okay.
So if you're running a mission-critical application that needs to be up and running 24/7, this is the way to go.
Gotcha.
Think of it like buying a season pass instead of paying for individual tickets.
Okay.
You commit to a 1- or 3-year term, and in return, you get a significant discount on that hourly rate.
So it's a commitment, but it comes with a pretty nice reward.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got some flexibility with reserved instances as well.
Okay.
If your needs change during the term, you can actually switch to different instance types or even different availability zones with convertible reserved instances.
So I'm not locked into the exact same configuration for the entire term?
Nope. You've got options.
That's good to know. What about savings plans?
Right.
How do they differ from reserved instances?
With savings plans, you're committing to a certain level of spending on EC2 each hour.
Okay.
Rather than specific instance configuration. So it's a bit different than reserved instances. Think of it like a prepaid phone plan.
Okay.
You buy a certain amount of minutes up front and get a discounted rate. You're then free to use those minutes on any calls you like.
So savings plans are more about the overall spending commitment.
Yeah.
Rather than the specific instance detail.
Precisely. And it offers great flexibility, allowing you to change instance types, regions, or even operating systems without impacting your discount.
So if I need the freedom to adjust my setup, savings plans are the way to go.
Yeah, if you need that flexibility, savings plans are your friend.
Okay, so we've got spot instances for the bargain hunters, reserved instances for the commitment-minded, and savings plans for the flexible spenders.
Yeah, you got it.
It's great that there are so many options to choose from.
Yeah, AWS gives you a lot of different ways to save money.
But what if I have very specific requirements and need even more control over my environment?
Right. Well, for those with very specific needs, like strict compliance requirements or unique licensing models, dedicated hosts are the answer.
Right.
With dedicated hosts, you're essentially renting an entire physical server dedicated solely to your use.
Wow.
So you have complete control over instance placement and can meet even the most stringent regulatory requirements.
So it's like having my own private server rack in the AWS cloud.
You got it. And it's often essential for workloads with specific licensing restrictions or when you need that absolute guarantee of isolation.
Okay, the ultimate level of control. Now let's talk about specialized workloads.
Okay.
I've heard about high-performance computing and machine learning being done on EC2.
Yeah.
How does that work, and what do we need to keep in mind for those scenarios?
Specialized workloads often have unique needs. For example, high-performance computing demands powerful processors, tons of memory, and high-speed networking.
You're crunching massive amounts of data.
Exactly. And you need the infrastructure to support it.
So it's not just about any instance type. It's about choosing the right tool for the job.
Absolutely. For high-performance computing, you'll want instance families like C5N or HPC6A that are specifically designed for those kinds of workloads.
And for machine learning, where you're training algorithms on massive data sets,
Right.
what are some good instance types?
Instance families like P4D or P5 with powerful GPUs are your go-to choices.
So we need to match that instance type to the workload to get the best performance.
Definitely.
But what about software? Are there any specific software considerations for specialized workloads?
Often, yes. For high-performance computing, you might need to set up specialized libraries for parallel processing. For machine learning, you'll be working with deep learning frameworks that have their own dependencies. So it can get a bit more involved, but AWS provides resources like pre-configured AMIs and detailed documentation to guide you.
That's good to know. It's incredible how EC2 keeps evolving to support these cutting-edge workloads. Speaking of which, I've heard about Mac instances on EC2.
Yes.
Is it really possible to run macOS in the cloud?
It is. You can now run macOS workloads on dedicated Mac mini computers in the AWS cloud.
Oh, wow.
It's a game changer for developers building and testing Apple applications, especially those needing a consistent environment that matches their local setup.
So as a developer, I could have a Mac development environment available in the cloud.
Exactly.
From anywhere.
Exactly. You can build, test, and sign your apps in a cloud-based environment that mirrors your local development setup.
That's incredibly powerful. But Mac instances sound like they could be quite resource intensive.
Yeah, they are.
Are there any special considerations for using them?
Yes. They come with a 24-hour minimum allocation period.
Okay.
So you can't just spin them up for a few minutes and shut them down. It's a commitment to using that hardware for at least a day.
So it's not for quick tests, it's for sustained workloads where you need that macOS environment consistently available.
Exactly. It's designed for developers who need that dedicated Mac environment for their workflows.
EC2 has come a long way. It's not just for basic web servers anymore.
Yeah.
It's a platform for running everything from simple websites to high-performance computing clusters to macOS development environments. What are some key things to keep in mind as our listeners start exploring these more advanced EC2 concepts?
Remember that variety is key. Don't be afraid to experiment with different instance types, purchasing options, and tools. The beauty of EC2 is that you can tailor it to your specific needs, and don't hesitate to leverage the many resources AWS provides. Their documentation tutorials and community forums are invaluable.
That's reassuring. It's like starting with a basic recipe and then adding your own spices and flavors as you get more comfortable.
Yeah.
Are there any other tips you would give someone who's new to EC2?
Absolutely. Don't underestimate the power of automation. EC2 has a lot of tools that can help you automate tasks like deployment, scaling, and even backups.
Wow.
Embracing automation can free up your time to focus on other aspects of your application.
Automation sounds like a game changer. It's like having a robot assistant to handle the repetitive tasks.
Exactly. And finally, remember that the AWS community is incredibly supportive.
Oh, that's great.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Join online forums and connect with other users. There's a wealth of knowledge and experience out there, and people are always willing to help.
This has been an amazing deep dive into the world of EC2. We've covered everything from the basics of virtual servers to advanced concepts like networking, storage, and all those different specialized workloads. It's clear that EC2 is a powerful platform that can handle a wide range of applications and use cases. What are some parting words of wisdom you would give our listeners as they continue their EC2 journey?
My final piece of advice is to embrace the journey. EC2 is constantly evolving with new features and services being added all the time. So stay curious, keep learning, and don't be afraid to explore the ever-expanding world of possibilities that EC2 offers. Who knows what exciting things you might discover along the way.
That's a great way to wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of EC2.
Yeah, sure.
We hope you've learned a lot and are excited to see what you build with this powerful platform.
Happy cloud computing.
Welcome back to our EC2 deep dive.
It's been great covering all this ground.
Yeah, we really have gone from the very basics of what is an EC2 instance all the way to, like, how do we do networking and storage?
Yeah, and how to manage these things effectively and even specialized workloads.
Exactly. And, of course, how to save money along the way.
Always important.
Right. So before we wrap things up, are there any other key takeaways you want to emphasize?
Yeah, one thing I'd like to stress is security.
Okay, security is always top of mind.
Absolutely. We touched on security groups and key pairs earlier.
Right.
But there's so much more to consider.
Okay, like what?
Well, think about things like data encryption, secure access controls, and regular security audits.
It's like having a multi-layered security system for your house. You want to make sure you've got all the bases covered.
Exactly. And with EC2, you have a lot of tools at your disposal.
Yeah.
To build a really robust security posture, it's essential to take advantage of those tools and make security an integral part of your EC2 strategy.
Great advice. Any other parting words of wisdom for our listeners as they embark on their EC2 adventures?
The journey of learning and mastering EC2 is ongoing. The cloud landscape is constantly evolving with new features and services all the time.
It can be a lot to keep up with.
It can, but it's also really exciting.
It is.
So embrace that spirit of experimentation.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to try new things and always be on the lookout for ways to improve your EC2 skills.
That's a fantastic mindset to have. And remember, you're not alone on this journey.
Yeah.
The AWS community is incredibly supportive.
Exactly. There's a wealth of knowledge and experience out there. So don't hesitate to reach out, ask questions, and connect with others who are passionate about cloud computing.
This has been an incredible deep dive into the world of Amazon EC2.
It has.
We've explored its flexibility power and the many ways you can leverage it to build and run applications in the cloud. What are your final thoughts as we wrap up this exploration?
My final takeaway is this EC2 is more than just a service. It's a gateway to endless possibilities.
I like that.
Whether you're building a simple website, a complex application, or exploring cutting-edge technologies like machine learning, EC2 provides the foundation you need to turn your ideas into reality.
That's really powerful.
So embrace the power of EC2 and let your imagination soar.
What a perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Amazon EC2.
It was my pleasure.
We hope you've gained valuable insights and are excited to see what amazing things you create with this powerful platform. Thanks for listening, everyone.